Okay, good to go. Good evening and welcome to the National Library of Australia here on Nornal and Ngambri land in Canberra. I pay my respects to elders past and present. My name is Barbara Lemon and I'm a Director of Curatorial and Collection Research here at the Library. It's my very great pleasure to be with you. Our guest tonight has been hailed for her significant role in bringing Australian country music into the mainstream. In 2018, she became the youngest woman ever to be inducted into the ARIA Hall of Fame. She's won a staggering 14 ARIA awards, 24 golden guitars and 10 APRAs. Her first 12 albums sold more than 14 times platinum, and her 13th has just been released, and in its first week is *1 Australian album and *1 country album. Really extraordinary. We are very fortunate to have her here tonight to share some music with us and to talk a little bit about her new book with the inimitable title, Just Don't Be a Dickhead and Other Profound Things I've Learned. Please welcome Kasey Chambers. Yeah. Over you.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks
perfect.
so much.
Pretty,
What a lovely
pretty
introduction.
good. Oh,
that's beautiful. Thank you.
It's all true.
Oh, man.
Kasey,
I don't care if it's not true. I'm just happy you said it.
sounded good, didn't it? I mean, it's kind of obscene, 24 gold guitars. So, Kasey, your book kicks off in 1976 with a cracking yarn. I mean, no spoilers, but it involves your very pregnant mum, Diane, hanging out of a speeding Jeep, siphoning fuel through a hose. I mean, I'm pushing 6 months here and I find it hard to stand up, frankly. So
With bullets firing at them, actually, at my mum and dad. So you'll have to get the book to read that one. It's a bit too long. It'll probably take up the whole session if we tell it now.
The retelling. Did read the epilogue, that's important. Make sure you do that.
Yeah.
But that's really part of your origin story, right? It's this childhood on the Nullarbor, lived largely on the Nullarbor with summers spent in a fishing town on the South Australian coast.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about how that childhood has found its way into your music over the years?
Yeah, well, I actually think it's got everything to do with my music and my career, really. I think I grew up in fairly remote area in Australia, half of my childhood being in a little beach town called Southend, right down the southeast of South Australia, and the other half of my childhood in the outback. My dad was actually a professional fox hunter. He took the whole family out to the Nullarbor when I was about 3 weeks old. And I don't know how you wake up one day and go, oh, might be a professional fox hunter. But that's kind of what he did. This is back in the 70s when everything was a bit weird, you know. People did some weird shit back then. And yeah, we lived out there each year for like 5 or 6 months of each year. We would go out and live in our four-wheel drive, and we had a little, kind of like a little caravan, I guess, on the back. My dad handmade it, actually, this little caravan, and we'd keep all our supplies in it. And yeah, we travelled around the whole of the Nullarbor hunting foxes, rabbits, you know, eating whatever food that my dad hunted. We would cook everything on the open campfire, and I learnt to sing out there as well. That's really where music first began for me, because we were living a really isolated lifestyle out there. We didn't really have much touch with civilization. As a kid, I only had a few friends to play with, my cousins, who actually... one of them happens to be here tonight. I've just spotted them. I knew they were coming. My cousin Tracy and her mum Val. And I'm like, sorry, I'll get all teary. It's just, I haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah, there they are.
And I'm very excited to have them here because Tracy is one of the only people that actually truly understands what I'm talking about because she had just as weird a childhood as I did. So it's just really lovely to see you, Trey.
That's fantastic that you're here. Yeah.
But it was such a special time, and I wonder if Tracy can relate to this sort of thing, that we had such a free-spirited lifestyle. Like, even though we were such a long way away from any kind of civilization a lot of the time, our lifestyle just had no boundaries. It was just so free-spirited, and my parents and Trace's parents, they just let us be whoever we wanted to be, you know. We were living this nomadic lifestyle, and just these little free spirits inside us were just able to fly all the time. And I'm so incredibly grateful of my childhood. And it's really where music began for me, sitting around a campfire, and my dad would bring out the guitar and we would all sit around and sing as a family. We would sing old gospel songs and old country songs and that. And that's still one of my most favourite things to do now. I still sit around a campfire with my kids now and they bring out the guitar and we all sing as a family. So, yeah.
So Tracy was involved in the singing as well.
Look at her, she's going, no, I was not. But she's going to sing for you tonight, aren't you, Trace? No, her first performance ever. Look at her, she's dying right now. Sorry, Trace.
Surprise, yeah.
She's regretting coming to this gig right now. No, it was mostly my family, but we would, as cousins, we would put on little plays for our parents. So sometimes what we would do is we'd practice these little plays, me and my cousins, and we'd charge our parents like 20 cents to come and watch. Like, we were already hustling, you know, like even way back then.
But a small audience,
stage.
but they're willing to pay, yeah.
Yeah, already hustling our careers way back then.
Where'd you get your costumes from? Did you get them from them as well?
From mum and dad's drawers. We'd get out all their clothes, put all them on, and put on our little plays. And I was already a performer. Like, I think... Honestly, like when I think back on those days, I had no stage out there. There was no audience. You know, it was not about what performing is like for me now. But I felt like there was this little performing spirit inside me that was set free. Every time I got out there and put on a play or sang a song or something, I think I was just always destined to be a performer.
It was in there.
Yeah,
and you'd be watching
I
your
love it.
Parents as well, both performing musicians, right? And
Yeah,
especially
from
playing with your
before
dad.
I was born too. Like mum and dad played in bands and travelled around playing music a lot. So I was really born into it. Yeah.
So tell us about the formation, I guess, more formally of the Dead Ringer Band, your family band.
Yeah.
And I mean, I loved reading about the fact that there was a moment in your life, okay, you might have been 12, but where you actually had stage fright and found it hard to talk on stage. That's finished now, hasn't it?
It's I'm pretty shy. Can you tell?
Yeah. I was getting that vibe.
So a lot of people actually do find this hard to believe because now if you come to one of my gigs, there's always more talking than there is singing. My band are often saying to me, you know, if you just shut up a bit, we'd get in 5 or 6 more songs a night, you know.
Just wind up the intro.
I love a chat, but when I first started, I was actually really nervous to speak on stage, and I would get full stage fright. Like, there was one gig, it was really early on, I reckon it was like maybe our second or third gig we'd ever done as a band. I was only about maybe 9 or 10, and I'm on stage and I forget the lyrics to the song. I go into the second verse and I'm like, I forget the lyrics, and I just freaked out, and I looked over at my dad and he's just like, oh, just sing the first verse again, whatever. And I'm just like, this is the worst moment of my life, and I burst into tears and I ran off the stage, and I swore at that moment I would never, ever set foot on a stage again for the rest of my life. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and die.
Disappear.
Yeah. And I was just so, like, I can't do this. I can't handle that pressure. And then my mum and dad went back out and finished the rest of the gig, right? And I was meant to go out and sing, and I'm like, no, I can't go on stage. And they went on stage. And then the audience started really getting into the gig and started dancing and singing along and loving it. And then I was like, oh, hang on, I'm missing out now. And so I just walked back on stage and finished the gig. So I think my fear of missing out was bigger than my fear of being freaked out by stage fright.
That's the perfect end. And you mentioned in the book as well that you've got, I guess, the inspiration not only of your parents, but what you're listening to in the Jeep on your way around. The Nullarbor, you know, Hank Williams, Slim Dusty, Emmylou Harris. Some of your other influences there that are coming through early on through your parents' musical taste.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of that was to do with the fact that I had no other way of hearing any other music than what my dad liked. So I really didn't have much choice. I was like,
the diet.
my choice of music was like between country and western, pretty much. There's nothing else really out there for me. So, but you know, like now I'm actually really appreciative of that, because later on, like when I became a teenager and stuff, I started listening to music that was on the radio, and I went through a stage where I listened to whatever music that my dad hated. So I went through this death metal stage, right, where I decided, I don't know, I'm like 13-year-old girl or something who went, right, what does my dad hate more than any other music in the world? So I'm going to listen to death metal, but I would only listen to it when my dad was around, and then he would leave the room and I'd turn it off because I hated it. I was like, what am I listening to this shit for? You know?
Reminds me of the story of you having soft drink as a treat, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you choose the ginger ale.
Well, that was just me being a real bitch, really. So this was when we were out on the Nullarbor, and we would get a little treat every few weeks where we would have one can of soft drink, right, that we could share between the whole family. And it was always like a real special kind of night when we got to have this, you know, because we got our supplies out there only every few weeks from the tea and sugar train. So it's not like you could just pop into a shop and buy another can of soft drink, you know. So anyway, we would get to choose, and we'd always have a choice between Coke and Fanta, lemonade, and that Stoney's non-alcoholic ginger beer.
I sure do.
I hated that. That was my least favourite one, right? And I just, even when my brother picked it, I just wouldn't have any because it was so gross. And I remember this one night, we were getting our can of soft drink that we all got to share. But Nash, my brother, had been really naughty that day, and my mum's punishment for him was Nash doesn't get any can of soft drink and I get twice as much. So I got to choose whatever flavour I wanted, and his favourite was ginger beer. So I went, I want the ginger beer. And I forced myself to drink that drink. Like bringing it up as I'm going along, but whatever my brother couldn't have, that's what I wanted.
Totally empathise with that. Yeah, the brother.
Already
if you've got a brother, you're already a dickhead. Early dickhead moment. And we'll revisit some dickhead moments in a minute. But I think we do have a very fitting track, the title track for your new album, Backbone. If we're on the Nullarbor, should we have a little song break?
We're on the Nullarbor.
All right.
For this bit.
I'm gonna disappear
All right,
stage right.
Oh yeah, I mean you
Pretend to be part of the band.
Yeah, absolutely. You can stay and do a third harmony if you'd like. This is Brandon, everybody. Brandon Dodd. So, Brandon, when he's got a guitar in his hand, he changes to Dingo. That's what everyone calls him when he's got a guitar, because he makes it howl. So, I just made that up. I don't know why they call you Dingo. I thought that actually makes sense, doesn't it? I don't know. All right, let me just get in tune here. So this is the title track. Oh, hang on. Title track of the my new album, which the album and the book really go together. So they said, oh shit, I can't get this in tune. Sorry, I keep forgetting we're recording this and it's going live out to something, and I've got to stop swearing. Sorry. Why is it? All right. No, close enough. You're not going to ask for your money back, are you, if I'm out of tune? They call me the desert child. I was born out in the wild. Ain't never been lost to the Southern Cross with a heart that runs a mile. And the train it waits arrival. I'd learned to read the Bible. I remembered every word just to sing like a bird and to whistle on down the line. Oh, my backbone, take me back home. Wherever you are, tell them my star will leave the light on. Oh, my backbone, heartache. I'ma come home. We're the only road to find her, from the tread underneath the tire. If the fox didn't howl, it'd save us now from the bit from the highest spire. Our hair, it grew like fire, like Samson and Delilah. Oh, the rust wouldn't hurt from the dust and dirt that we used to barb the wire. Oh, my backbone, take me back home. Wherever you are, tell her my star will leave the light on. Oh, my backbone, harder than stone. I'ma go east, I'ma go west, I'ma come home. That night the words were spoken, will the circle be unbroken? And the voice went high from the family choir, and the moon it played in time. And the boxcar disappeared with the wave from the engineer. And I always came back for the coin on the track, 'cause it made me a millionaire. Oh, my backbone, take me back home. Wherever you are, tell her my star will leave the light on. Oh, my backbone, harder than stone. I'ma go east, I'ma go west, I'ma come home. Yeah, I'ma go east, I'ma go west, I'ma come home. Well, they call me the desert child. I was born out in the wild. Ain't never been lost to the Southern Cross, with a heart that runs a mile. Thank you. Oh, thanks so much. Thanks, Brenna. We'll bring you back in a minute.
Just going to say,
Don't
you're
go
welcome
too
to
far,
stay.
don't go too
Yeah,
far.
yeah, don't get too comfy. Thanks, Casey. It's beautiful. I can see that probably if you just kept going, everybody would be quite happy with that evening. But let's have a small chat break. You mentioned in the book that in some ways your upbringing and that kind of lack of exposure to certain things in terms of pop culture, maybe expectations, status, things that passed you by, was sort of an advantage when you start to hit the music industry head on. Yeah, I'm wondering if you talk a bit about in what ways that was the case and how long did that last?
Yeah, it was definitely a blessing in disguise, I think, because I'd sort of, I'd come from this fairly isolated upbringing, I guess. But even through my teen years and, when we started travelling with the Dead Ringer Band and that, we would play gigs all over Australia and travelling, just in our swags and that sort of things, staying on the side of the road and that after gigs. But we didn't really have much to do with the music industry. So I didn't grow up, hoping one day to win an ARIA award. I didn't even know what an ARIA award was. We didn't that there were record labels and that's how you got into the music industry. I just thought, I don't know, I'll just play gigs until someone tells me I can't do that anymore. And I was pretty happy just doing that. Yeah. And then when I ended up getting a major label record deal with EMI Records for the Captain album, I sort of went into the industry with really no expectation at all. I was just this little free spirit who loved to play music. I didn't really mind what happened from then. I didn't, the label would come to me and they would be like, oh, we got you on this, got you this interview with this magazine or whatever. I never heard of them. I didn't really know that kind of meant anything. I remember when I got my first ever review from this street press, and it was for my first ever solo song. So it was like the first single off the Captain album, which was called Cry Like a Baby. And we released this song, and someone wrote in a street press review, and you thought Shania Twain was bad. This is how it went. It said, and you thought Shania Twain was bad. It said, this song will leave you standing in the corner saying, make it stop. Please make it stop as the men in white coats come to cart you away. That's what it said, right? So this was my first ever review for a solo song I'd ever gotten. Now, the record label hid this from me, right? Because they were like, no artist wants to hear that about this song, obviously. And they're like, we have to hide this from it. I found the interview somewhere. I don't know. I found it. And I was like, I read it, and I was like, somebody wrote my name in the paper. I just thought it was so cool. I didn't really care what they said. I'm like, that's my name. And I framed it and I put it on my wall. I'm serious. For years, I had that review on my wall because it was the first time my name had ever been written in anything. So I just didn't care. I didn't know that those things mattered, And look, I mean, I guess on one hand they don't matter. But I think if I'd known more about the industry going into it, those sort of things would have bothered me more, and I just didn't really care. I was just like, cool, I'm just having a good time.
That's the perfect comeback to a shit review, is to frame it.
I don't know, I've still got it somewhere, yeah. But I guess it was sort of after I started getting a little bit more success from the Captain album, and started having a lot more to do with the music industry. Don't get me wrong, I had a beautiful record label behind me, people that I really clicked with and loved working with, and I still work with a lot of them now, actually, even though they were not even with the same label. But I was lucky enough to have just this beautiful team around me, and that was just something that was a bit of luck and a bit of intuition, I guess, to follow my gut feeling, my inner voice. I like to call her my inner foghorn.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd touch on
She's
the
my
inner foghorn.
screamy little inner foghorn in me that tells me when I'm being a dickhead. I don't always listen to her though. But I started getting a little bit more into the music industry, I guess, and I guess just it's funny because the music industry, in one way, is really a beautiful thing to be a part of. And I'm really grateful that I've been a part of it, and I've had a really incredible time. I've met so many beautiful people and worked with so many beautiful people. But there's also obviously an element of it that's really superficial, and there's quite a lot of pressure, and it's quite demanding, and there's a lot of control going on, and that sort of thing. So there's a negative side of it, of course, like any industry, I think, So the more that you kind of get involved in it, and the more that you get caught up in it, and I think that was the problem. I went from just not caring and just doing my own thing to actually getting a bit caught up in it.
Yeah,
and I started really... Well, I guess I got to a point a little while after the Captain album where I think it was this was like on the charts at the time of artists like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, the Spice Girls, all of these girls that I felt so different from.
And compared to.
Yeah, and I think it was the first time in my life that I honestly... I'll get to you. The first time in my life where I honestly started comparing myself to other girls. I'd never really had a reason to do that before. I'd never felt like I didn't really take on judgment, or I didn't really care if I was different than other people. I was just happy to be this different little girl that did her own thing. And then I think I just really started going, well, I don't look like these girls, and I don't sound like these girls, and I don't talk like these girls, and I just felt so out of place. I just started getting in my own head and just feeling really out of place being a part of the industry. And I sat down one day and I wrote, "Am I not pretty enough?"
Perfect response. I mean, you were only 23, right, when The Captain was released, around that,
Yeah, something like
1999, and then 2001, you got
Sounds
something like
you know
that.
this better than I do, because I don't remember.
I was 18
Maybe.
at the time. It was big. And then 2001, Barricades and Brick Walls, and that is really, that is right on the era of Oops, I Did It Again, and what was Shakira's terrible lyric about having breasts that were humble so you didn't confuse them with mountains or something? It was a weird time. I don't know what was going on at the turn of the century there, but it's a good thing that you were different.
I felt really different. Do you know what? I think this is what changed in me. I used to feel that I was different, and I used to love that about myself. And then I got to a point where I felt really different, and I didn't like that about myself. And I think that was like a bit of a turning point. In saying that, because I sat down and I wrote that song from the most vulnerable place inside me, and I did not know if I would ever even play that song to another person. So I just put all of this stuff into Not Pretty Enough. And then I just thought, I don't even know if I'll ever play it. It's so open and so vulnerable. And I felt like that I'd put so much of my weakness, and what I thought was a weakness, in a song, because I felt so insecure. And then, ironically, that's the song that goes to number one, and then takes my album to number one, and then the album goes 7 times platinum, and my life is changed like overnight. It was really weird. But I realised, like, after a little while, it took a little while, but I realised what I thought was my weakness in music was actually my strength. And I feel that so much now. So grateful. So grateful.
Hell yeah. And I think something you reflect on in the book about that, the vulnerability being an audience connection as well. So the more that you, throughout your career, I remember you were reflecting on the album Carnival, and that was one you felt you hadn't sort of connected with, and therefore you feel like you don't get requests from Carnival generally.
I don't, and that's like, and it's funny with that album because I just don't really feel a connection because I didn't go to a real vulnerable place when I wrote it, and on purpose too, because I'd made these 3 records before that were really putting my heart on my sleeve. And I got to making Carnival album and I was like, you know what, I'm a bit sick of having a therapy session with all my records, and then having to put it out there, And so I purposefully went, okay, I'm going to just write 9 to 5. This is not going to be a pouring my heart out album. And I just don't connect with that record. I never have. And I'm not embarrassed by it, and it's not like I don't like it. But no one ever asked me for songs off that record. And really I reckon that's why. If I'm not connecting to it, and look, sometimes I get people say, oh, no, I like that record. And I'm like, yeah, I like it too. But it's, I don't know that it doesn't set my soul on fire. Yeah. Like when I listen, like when I play The Captain now, or I play Not Pretty Enough, I still get so lost in those songs, and I get caught up in them, and I feel so open and vulnerable when I play any of those songs. And I love that. That's why I play music, But I did have to go through that stage of making Carnival to know that method doesn't work for me. Yeah, so I won't ever do that again.
The kind of workhorse 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 9 to 5 doesn't work for me.
It's a good lesson. Do you think you might like to play Not Pretty Enough around about now-ish?
Well, you know what? It'd be pretty shit of me to say no now, wouldn't it?
Excellent.
Say all that
I'll
about it
off.
and then go, nah, I reckon.
Not gonna.
I absolutely can. It's actually been kind of interesting playing Not Pretty Enough just lately, because since the book, I've been talking about the song a lot more, and it's really funny. I know this is like my biggest song, and you would think that I would talk about this song all the time, but I don't. Usually when I play it on stage, I just get up there and I just play it. I go straight into it and the audience is there and it's beautiful. But it's been really, it's almost like the song has taken on a new little life for me because I'm getting to really talk about where it really came from, like just before playing it. So I'm sorry if I am choked up. it's a good choked up, I promise. Am I not pretty enough? Is my heart too broken? Do I cry too much? Am I too outspoken? Don't I make you laugh? Should I try it harder? Why do you see right through me? I live, I breathe, I let it rain on me. I sleep, I wake, I try hard not to break. I crave, I love, I've waited long enough. I try as hard as I can. Am I not pretty enough? Is my heart too broken? Do I cry too much? Am I too outspoken? Don't I make you laugh? Should I try it harder? Why do you see right through me? I laugh, I feel, I make believe it's real. I fall, I freeze, I pray down on my knees. I hope, I stand, I take it like a man. I try as hard as I can. Am I not pretty enough? Is my heart too broken? Do I cry too much? Am I too outspoken? Don't I make you laugh? Should I try it harder? Why do you see right through me? Why do you see? Why do you see? Why do you see right through me? Why do you see? Why do you see? Why do you see right through me? Why do you see? Why do you see? Why do you see right through me? Why do you see? Why do you see? Why do you see right through me? Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, Anna. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks. That song is, it's just so special to me. I'm so grateful for that song in so many ways because it really taught me to put my heart on my sleeve. And it's funny because it just came from the most lonely place And then when I go out and I play that song, I might be playing like a festival or something, and then everyone starts singing along, and it takes me from where I started in that really lonely little place to the most supported feeling. Like, it's just the most beautiful transition. I'm so, so grateful of it. And one of the best things about it for me is that the song isn't saying, telling anyone how to fix that feeling of feeling alone, or it's not saying this is what you have to do to fix it or change it, or it's really just saying this is how I feel, and then everyone else feels the same at times, and we all do. I mean, I still have those moments now where I do still sometimes look in the mirror and I say, am I not pretty enough? My answer now is, who gives a fuck?
That is the correct answer. And I can see, well over 20 years later, the resonance with just looking around the audience is very clearly still there. And it was, as a young woman at the time, I say 20 when that was released, I remember it very, very clearly, the impact of that one track.
I think a lot of it too was that, a lot of young girls at the time, me included, wanted to look like Britney Spears, but we felt not pretty enough. Yes. And then, of course, that song came out, and I think people just resonated with it. And the song, just became much bigger than me or anything. It just became it feels like it's everyone's song. I feel like I share it with everybody, so I'm very grateful.
That's so wonderful. And I guess since that time, so much water under the bridge, so much has happened, so much change in you, so much change in your life. You've recorded 11 albums since then, you've had 3 children, there have been major relationships, ambassador of a school in Zambia, lots and lots of travel and touring, and probably, exhausting and hopefully exhilarating at the same time.
Yeah, a bit of both.
It's living life absolutely full tilt, which kind of brings me to thinking about this book and the timing of this book and the difference in you, the person who wrote this book versus that song, the changes in that person over that time. And just thinking about, I guess, that you had a 2011 sort of co-written autobiography, right? Little Bird Told Me.
Yeah, wrote with my friend Jeff Apter. And that one feels a little bit different because I feel like that was more like an interview that I went through that Jeff helped turn into a book for me. Whereas this new book, it feels like a very creative process for me because I wrote the whole thing on my own. And it actually didn't start out as a book. I never sat down and went, I'm going to write a book. It was actually, I started writing notes in my phone. You know the little app you have in your phone, the Notes app? I started writing little lessons for myself, kind of like little reminders where I was like, reminders in my phone of what I wanted to live by. And the first one being just don't be a dickhead, because that's what my dad had always said to me, and that's it. Like, sometimes he would say it specifically to me because I was being a dickhead, and then sometimes it was more like just this overall profound advice that he would give to people, and he was like, just don't be a dickhead. It's that simple, And it actually turned into really profound advice for me. I know it sort of sounds funny and tongue-in-cheek, but it actually has ended up being a bit of a bottom line for me over the years. And I put all these other little notes in my phone, like be brave enough to be vulnerable, because that's what I knew where not pretty enough had come from. And there's a chapter in there about finding your tribe, because I think it's been really important, the tribe that I've had around me at different times in my life and career that has just been so important in getting through things, and all these little reminders. And they were really just reminders for myself of what I wanted to live by. And as I was writing them down, each one would then turn into a little experience or a little story of something that I had been through where I'd learnt that lesson. And so I'd write that down and put it, And next thing, it started kind of evolving into this book. And it all stayed there in the notes on my phone. I wrote this entire book in the Notes app in my phone. It's still there. It's still there in the Notes app because I can't use a laptop. I don't have a laptop. I don't use a computer at all. I hate technology so bad. I'm just the worst at it. So I didn't have any other way of writing it. So the whole book is written. It's sitting there still in the Notes app in my phone.
It's one hell of a scroll.
Yeah, it's a big scroll. It is. It is. But it just kind of evolved into a book. And then as the book started evolving, I was starting to feel like I wanted to share it with people, kind of like what I did when I first made the Captain album. So I was making that album, I was writing all these songs, and then I was like, I really want to share these with people. I want to get them out there. I want to go and play them live, and I want to share this with as many people as I can. And the book was really the same. It just started evolving into that. It started inspiring new songs, which turned into the Backbone album. And so the album and the book really go together for me. It feels very much like one creative project that has two halves.
Yeah, and that's where you've got QR codes through.
Yeah. Well, because when we were about to go to print with the book, the publisher had said, you need to have your one last read. You know, if you want any changes, it's got to be now. We're about to go to print in 4 days. And I read through it. And I skimmed through it. I was a bit over it by then. But but I was like, I would get to the end of like these little stories, and I was really bummed that people couldn't hear the song that related to the story that you'd just read. And that's when it popped into my head to go, oh, maybe we'll put these little QR codes so that when you've read, it's about maybe 8 or 9 of them throughout the book, not the whole album.
Yeah.
So you still have to buy the whole album, okay? I was very careful of that.
It's a 15-track album, right?
Yeah, 15 tracks on the album, so you're not going to get all of it in the book. So buy both, okay? But yeah, you'll just like read a certain story, and then there'll be a song that is really closely related to that story that you've just read, and then you can hear it's like the little soundtrack to it. So it's very connected.
Companion piece.
Yeah, companion piece. That's perfect. I'm going to use that now. That's better. That's better than what I said.
Well, I wanted to know, when I picked it up, I wanted to know first who the advice was from. Your dad, Bill Chambers.
Yeah, Dad, yeah.
Thank you very much. And second, what was your definition of a dickhead, which you've handily provided in the back of the book?
I have,
Really.
you know, I think one of the things is like, and one of the things that makes the world go round and maybe is a downfall as well, is everybody's definition of a dickhead is a little different, you know? And, you know, so I've kind of included like a bunch of things in the back of the book that are my definition of what it means for me to be a dickhead. And look, some of them are funny, but some of them are really deep things that I've learnt from really hard times in my life, you know. And I try to draw from them as much as I can, and I try to bring that, like seriously, throughout my whole day. My dad's voice is in my head just going, just don't be a dickhead.
Repeating
and
that.
I said, this is like the main advice that I give to my children as well. I say to them, like whenever they walk out the door, I'm like, just don't be a dickhead.
So when they say, my mother
Yeah.
always used to say, that's
Yeah.
what they'll have to come up with. Fantastic. I mean, I love that your description of it as a feral memoir. I think you said that somewhere. It's in an
feral memoir, but I kind of stole that because I think Paul Kelly described his memoir as a mongrel memoir. And then someone said, oh, well, yours has got to be feral because of your feral childhood. Yours too.
It's sort of peppered with little observations, little sort of, what would you call them? Almost mantras, you could say. I mean, one of my favourites was, if you act like a dickhead, you'll attract dickheads.
Yes, yeah.
I
think we all know that. We all know that one. That's happened many times.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, being released alongside your album Backbone, and this book being so much about your whole life, it's almost like the recap. Would it be fair to say that Backbone album is also almost a kind of a journey through from childhood, Backbone that we just heard before, all the way through to, to Lose Yourself, Eminem cover, which do yourself a favour and listen to that because it's awesome at the end of the album. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's a bit of everything. I do think that this album is really like the soundtrack to my life, and I think the songs that would easily sit on the Captain album or Barricades Records and all that, but I also feel like it really sums up who I am, and even why I am. Why I have ended
now I
up the
am.
person that I am.
Yeah.
Good and bad. There's everything in there, and there's heartache and there's humour, and that's a lot of my life. So it really has summed up. And obviously the Eminem cover, it's actually, it's not just a song to me, and it's not just a cover of a song to me. It's meant a lot to me. There's a chapter in the book about it, but it's been a huge part of my life and digging deep in the last sort of 5 years, and so that's why I really wanted to include that on the new album as well.
I love that. That's also been my go-to over the years for certain moments where you
It's
just
really
need
powerful.
that
Yeah.
particular thing that it does to you.
Yeah, and it finally made my kids like my music.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the only song I like that you do in your gig, Mum, is the Eminem one. Thanks.
You don't even have to pretend. It's not like the death metal era. The first track on the album, A New Day Has Come.
Yeah.
Is that am I right in thinking it's kind of a coming out of the pandemic-y
Very much.
feeling?
Yeah.
So what was that? What were those bizarre years like for you? The
That
COVID years?
song is I feel like is the glue song that holds the whole album together. Actually, I have a glue song on every record, and that's it for me. And it opens the record. And I did write it in the pandemic, and it was such a weird time for everybody. It was a strange time to go through a lot of different things and get to know yourself again, and all of that, and all the good and bad. It's all out there. So it was. There's a lot in the book about that as well, or a bit in the book about that. But I think where that song comes from is a lot more to do with the fact that there was sort of, there was a lot of division in the pandemic that happened. But I actually feel like in my immediate family and within my tribe, I like to call them, my close friends and family and all of that. Even though there was a lot of people on different sides and I know it was very much about sides during that time, it actually really brought us really together, and it was really beautiful to have everyone in our family be very, very supportive and respectful of everyone's different views, and that during that time, which was dividing a lot of people, and it was sad to see that as well. And it was a hard time. Everyone was just going through something really strange we'd never been through before, and there was a lot of fear involved. And obviously, when everyone feels fear, the crazy things happen. That's for sure. But it was in a lot of ways, it was a beautiful time. For the strength of our family and our tribe, to see how respectful everyone was of everyone involved, and it actually brought all of us much closer together, and it was a beautiful thing, which is what the song is about.
That's a great take on it, because I know you'd sort of gone from a 2019 of just packed with live music to probably a 2020 very unpacked. Live music.
It was. Look, I was certainly one of the lucky ones to not have the financial struggles that a lot of people had going into that time, and I was certainly grateful of that. But it was a weird time too, because like going through all of a sudden not having a job, even though I didn't have the financial stress that a lot of people did have during that time. It was still a weird time when you identify as your job way too much. And I think that was something I learnt about myself, where I actually had to sit back and go, well, hang on a minute, my job is not who I am. Yeah. It's something that I do, and I appreciate that I do it, and I love it. But it can be taken away, and I don't really ever want to identify with anything. I don't want to identify my self-worth with anything that can be taken away.
Yeah. I suppose that links quite nicely to back to the kind of definition of dickhead, where you're talking about essentially being authentic. If you haven't lost your way, your moral compass, your your inner foghorn has
Your inner
gone
foghorn,
quiet,
yeah, yeah.
that's where the problems start.
Yeah, and I've done it so much in my life, and this book made me realise it more than ever, how much that matches up. Every time, when I went back and went through certain struggles, and I talk in there about going through a eating disorder for a while, where I really became very disconnected from myself, and going through divorce and things like that, through these hard times that lots of people go through. I just can always relate it back to when I start tuning out of my inner foghorn, and I start listening to all the noise that's going on out there, and all the people that are telling me what I should be and what I should do and what I should think and should believe, And at the end of the day, we've all just got this path that is ours. It's a journey that is our own. And we can make our own way. And there's not really a right or wrong way of walking through this life. We're just...
Put one foot in front of the other.
one foot in the front of the other, exactly.
Is this the advice, I guess, that you would, or the book in some ways, that you would give to yourself, say in 2001 or 2000 or, earlier Casey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't have written it back then. I don't even think I could have written this book,
Several years
5
ago.
years ago, But it's funny because the person that I'm trying to be every day, who I'm trying to show up as every day for myself, not for my career, not for other people, but for myself, which is very much in this book, is the person that I naturally was being, I think, when I was younger, because I hadn't really been told to be anything else. And I was just this free spirit that did it naturally. And I didn't get caught up in too much, I was just like, yeah, we just love it, and, we're having a good time and spreading as much love as we possibly can, and putting our heart on our sleeve and being vulnerable and doing all that, and choosing not to feel judged, even if people are judging you. And that's a really hard thing to do when you get, caught up in it.
Yeah.
But I really think that I naturally used to do this a lot better, and until I sort of got off track,
Had to circle back to...
Yeah, I mean, that little free-spirited kid that was just running around on the Nullarbor in the nude.
Here she is.
Not always in the nude, were we, Trace? We weren't always. It was too cold. It was in winter months.
It's a perfect place to segue, I think, to a last tune. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Something about, and perhaps something that, if I were to guess, tell me if I'm wrong, was written during a difficult time, but when you're making a bit of a transition from a former self to a new, perhaps a new revelation or a new way of thinking through Ain't No Little Girl.
Yeah, this song for me, I actually feel like I didn't write this song. I feel like this song wrote me. It fell out at a really hard time. It was after my divorce, and it's not like it's about my divorce or anything like that. But it was later on after my divorce where I was trying to find myself again, and I was just like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who I am, trying to be a single parent, and trying to, deal with what I felt like at the time was a failure, although I don't feel like it now. I feel like my ex, Shane, who's my ex-husband, we actually have a duet on my new album called The Divorce Song that we wrote together, and really is at the end of the chapter where I talk about co-parenting, because we have such a beautiful family unit now. It's taken us a little while. We had our fair share of the shit divorce times, of course. We still have our moments every now and then. We actually, when we wrote the song together, we didn't sit in a room together and write it. We figured that might have been a little bit too hard. We used to make music together when we were married, and I kind of thought those days were over, because I was like, I don't know if we'd be able to sit in a room together and write a song again. We wrote it over text message just to be safe. So we wrote this song called The Divorce Song because we feel like we do divorce way better than we ever did marriage. We're really good at divorce. I really think this one's going to stick.
Almost recommend it.
I think it's going to. This divorce is going to last. Let me tell you.
Long term. It's long term.
a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
But so I think one of the hardest times of my life was trying to find myself again after divorce. So it wasn't so much when I was going through the divorce, it was later on going, who am I now? And you know, what have I given my identity away to, even just with parenting and trying to, you know, raise children, you know, in a split family and things like that. It was just such a weird time. And I was not even in songwriting mode. I wasn't musical at all at the time, actually. And I just sat down one night at this really, really dark time of my life. And this song fell out. And I didn't even play it to another person. I didn't even really think it was that special. It was just like this song existed the next day. And I went for about another year before I ever played that song to another person. And then this song just started popping up in my head. I'd be walking around my house and this song would just be singing itself in my head. And as I started singing it and performing it and sharing it, I started to own it and live it and become this song. And I honestly feel like it wasn't me that was writing the song was writing me. So I will play it for you now.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for that tonight. What a beautiful night. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Please say Barbara, thank you. And Brandon Dodd here. Adam, could I just have a little bit of the vocal in here? Thanks, mate. Cheers. Oh, man, thank you so much for coming along. What a beautiful time. It warms my heart. I was actually pretty nervous about doing these book events because I'd never done anything like it before. And the publisher was just like, no, you'll be fine. You just go up there and you just chat about your book and someone will prompt and ask you questions or whatever. And I'm like, but can I bring my guitar? I'm like, I'm going to feel really weird if I sit up there without a guitar. So I appreciate that they said yes. And and then they said that this one was in a library, and I'm like, I don't have to be quiet though, do I? It's a little hard to sing this song quietly. Hey, Adam, can I just have a little bit more vocal in here? Would be great. Thank you. All right. Just like a child, you've made up your mind. You make it look easy to leave me behind. Your cross and a bridge, and your cross and a line. You hold out your heart, your hand, and change the plan, and call yourself a man. But I ain't no little girl. No, I ain't no little girl. I won't cry, I won't beg, I won't plead, I won't pray, I won't ask you to stay. Or just walk on by and leave it alone. You won't take me down easy, but I ain't made of stone. Well, a lesson is learned, and a lesson
Casey Chambers, Brandon Dodd, what an absolute treat. Thank you so much. Thank you. For coming to be with us during your whirlwind tour. Amazing. Yes. There'll be book signings upstairs for the next half an hour. If you need to grab one and go, there's some pre-signed copies. Thanks to Casey. Book wait's open for a drink. And thank you, everybody, and good night. It was awesome.